Well, the Liberal cabinet retreat is in its final day on Prince Edward Island. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau held a news conference this past hour. He said he recognizes Canadians are generally anxious and worried right now and said it's important to remain, quote, positive and hopeful. And he tailored his message to young people, speaking at length about a key issue many of them are concerned about right now, housing. Here's what he had to say about that.
We've been very clear that, yes, we need to ensure more housing is built across this country, more affordable housing is built across this country, more purpose-built rental stock is built across this country, that there are more options for young people who are working hard to join the middle class. These are things that we are focused on resolving. But we see densification, we see proper partnerships with municipalities across provinces as being essential to do that. And we don't think that the only solution is to build on protected lands. There are lots of things that we can and should be doing, and we're going to continue to work on that.
And the CBC's JP Tasker was watching that news conference. He joins us now live in Charlottetown. So JP, the Prime Minister's focus is clearly on housing. What more did we learn from that news conference?
Yeah, Arthi, obviously the government sees housing as a political problem, that they have been hounded by the opposition parties over the last number of weeks about this issue. We've seen the Liberal numbers kind of take a dive in the polls over the summer, a lot of pollsters attributing that to their performance on the housing file. The Prime Minister signaling that he is concerned, that he's attentive to the housing issue, that he wants young people in this country to be able to afford a home so that they can have a home and a livelihood like their parents and the parents before them had. He doesn't want this to be a lost generation when it comes to housing, that there is something coming from Ottawa to kind of ease the way to home ownership. But what's really missing from this press conference and from this cabinet retreat is solutions, some concrete solutions as to what Ottawa can actually do to make this all happen. Because a lot of it right now is just talk. There's a lot of talk from the Prime Minister and the cabinet ministers that are assembled here who are responsible for these files. They don't really have anything to put in the window just yet, other than potentially a cap on international students, something they see as a potential solution to freeing up supply at the lower end of the spectrum for affordable housing supply. Something could be done there, they think, if they curb the numbers of foreign students that are coming into the country every year. But even that's not necessarily a concrete policy at this point. They're just floating that idea. So the Prime Minister, attentive to this political problem, attentive to the criticism that he's been facing from Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives in particular. But after hearing from some experts for 3 days, having discussions, extensive talks with his cabinet colleagues about housing, there's nothing here to announce just yet. So we'll wait and see, Arthi.
And now JP, Trudeau was also asked about the so-called state of politics at the current moment. And he said it's not an easy time to be a politician, saying politics is, quote, divided and toxic right now. So tell us more about the emphasis he's placing on this.
Yeah, it was interesting language he used there, toxic. He's acknowledging that the political culture in this country right now isn't all that great. Perhaps some of it fueled in part by his own actions, he was suggesting. And I think that what we're really seeing from the Prime Minister is more of an introspective look at politics, and maybe that there needs to be some sort of change in tone moving forward. He presented Pierre Poilievre in particular as someone who is trying to fan the flames of anger and resentment in this country, somebody who is responsible for a lot of the anger we've seen directed at the government in particular. And he's saying that the Liberal Party, by comparison, in his opinion, is the party of solutions. They don't really want to play that game. They don't want to get down and dirty, although Poilievre might have a different take on it. But let's listen to the Prime Minister and what he had to say about his main political opponent. Take a listen.
What does leadership mean when people are hurting? Well, Mr. Poilievre has decided, let's make them even angrier. Let's give them a scapegoat. Let's point fingers and lay blame, because that's easy, and it is. That's not my approach.
So we'll see where this all goes, but clearly the Prime Minister wants to frame the electoral landscape as a battle between just two folks, between him and the Liberal brand and Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives on the other side. We'll see if he can get that fight. That's one he wants to do. A few political scientists I've spoken to over the last couple of days as part of this cabinet retreat and the journalism we've been doing, they say that really what the solution for the Prime Minister is in this protracted battle with Poilievre is trying to scare voters about Poilievre and what the Conservatives could do when they're in power. We're starting to see them lay the groundwork for that political strategy here at the cabinet retreat. Arthi?
Thanks for this, JP. That is the CBC's JP Tasker in Charlottetown.